Going live. Hey there, students. Tom Richey here, and we are here for some AP Euro review. I tell you what, we are going to be reviewing at 8 p.m. Eastern, tonight, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. So tonight, the focus area is going to be absolutism and constitutionalism. I believe that tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to be going into the Cold War and contemporary Europe. And, to tell you the truth, I'm just kind of thinking about right now. Okay, so tonight, absolutism and constitutionalism. That's going to be the focus area tonight. So with that, yes, we've got Mr. Napkins over there on YouTube. Good to see y'all over there. And, SK Wonch, I'm not going to remember anything. All right. So as far as that goes, we've got some, and actually, yeah, I can see the whole schedule here. So tomorrow is going to be the Cold War in contemporary Europe. That's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern as well. Then Wednesday is going to be World War I and interwar dictatorships. And then May 4th, Star Wars night, May the 4th be with you. That's going to be the night before Euro, everything that's going to be a free-for-all, right? So as far as that goes, let's go ahead and hear a word from our sponsor. I'm my own sponsor, ladies and gentlemen. But let me tell you about this little app I made here, okay? Romulus Euro is just a little trivia app, okay? All it is, just you basically get in there and you pick a topic, and it asks you little trivia questions. Now, are these stimulus-based? No. Who wants to do stimulus-based questions on a phone? This is basically just a little trivia app to help you be able to just kind of recall information. So when you're doing the SAQ and the LEQ and the DDQ, you're going to remember that outside evidence. And remember that study after study shows that students that have more trivial knowledge, they do better on the exam. Okay, so as far as that goes, ladies and gentlemen, Romulus Euro is available at the App Store. Go and check it out. And sometimes, I think in terms of, sometimes I wait a little while before I rap or something like that. But I feel like rapping right now, right there off the outset. Y'all go ahead and let me know. I don't want to offend anybody, okay? I don't want to offend anybody. And so that's something, just note. I don't want to offend y'all. If y'all don't want to, if y'all don't want to hear me rap, I don't want to be, hey, we don't want to hear any rapping tonight. I mean, after all, I'm not a rapper. So with that, we'll go ahead. Brody bought the app. It's great. Okay. And again, it's just a simple little trivia app that's going to help you with some things. So Brody, thank you for that. And we're going to shout out to Mr. Osterweil's 4th period class. Okay. So it looks like in the chat. Okay. Y'all want me to, oh yes, a ray of sunshine over there on Long Island. Oh my goodness, it is so good to hear about Miss Rhea. I am so happy to hear about that. A ray of sunshine indeed. I'm not a rapper. All right, so with that, yes, Miss Rhea, what do I think about Oliver Cromwell? Woo! All right, where would I begin? So ladies and gentlemen, let's just, the WAP parody perhaps, because that's relevant, right? Yeah, let me see if I can get the instrumental going. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get the instrumental going here. But actually, I don't know if this is the instrumental. This is the, let's see. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to do it without. Y'all think I can do it without? I think I can do it without. So with that, yeah, I said certified king. Look at all that bling. Absolutely nobles kissing my ring. Yeah. 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 Yeah, I'm ruling France, so absolutely. Got no time for Huguenots, ruling absolutely. All this sovereignty I got, ruling absolutely. In the Fronde, nobles tried to charge, shut them down. It wasn't hard. At Versailles, built a new place. I run up debts like a credit card. Take a tour, come on inside. The Hall of Mirrors, it's tall and wide. Nobles flock by my bedside. Asking favors I won't provide. Protestants, y'all better hide. Toleration is denied. I want all the Huguenots to disappear like some sort of mirage. Did ballet, like so lean. I wear tights, not blue jeans. Greatest king France has seen. Louis the Grand, you can call me Sun King. Peter the Great Russian Tsar might have heard of me. Warm water port, yeah, that's where I want to be. European tour. Oh wait, sorry. Let me try that again. Peter the Great Russian Tsar might have heard of me. Warm water port, yeah, that's what I want to see. European tour going west, want to come with me? I'd rather die than have a noble running me. Shave that beard, show me them lips. Better grab a hammer because I'm building ships. Sailing down to Azov to a campaign. Turks couldn't hold the place after I came. I got a warm water port, ruling absolutely. Wear French fashions in my court, ruling absolutely. Yes, that's me in that book you're reading, ruling absolutely. Defeating Charles the 12th of Sweden, ruling absolutely. When it comes to kings, I ain't mediocre. In Western Europe, I'm the power broker. Dutch Republic, I'm gonna run you over. With English allies, Treaty of Dover. Charles needed money. He was indebted. All those mistresses ruined his credit. Nobles with swords, I ain't sympathetic. I make new nobles and they ain't genetic. Give me some art, make it Baroque. Edict of Nantes, I'm a revoke. I want one king, one law, one faith. That's what I said you can quote. Once fought a war of the Spanish succession. The Grand Alliance don't like my aggression. They thought they could win, but they couldn't outshine me. Go to Utrecht, and now they want to sign me. Westernizing Russia without ceasing, taxing beards revenue I'm receiving. Orthodox Church, the religion I believe in. When I lose a battle, I go and give a beating. Locked up my sis because I didn't need her. When I break a glass, I'm a culture leader. Absolute is my demeanor. I could, let's see it. Oh, I think this is old lyrics. I'm sorry. Absolute is my demeanor. That port was cold. Take it out the freezer. If you don't hang, make my axe clang. You rebelled against me. I hope you like pain. If you come to Russia, wonder whose is it? Pay my city a visit where I spell the name. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, we out here ruling absolutely. Got no time for Huguenots, ruling absolutely. All this sovereignty we got, ruling absolutely. A patriarch, there is not, ruling absolutely. Traitors' heads, watch them drop, ruling absolutely. Our wars don't stop, ruling absolutely. Feudalism, this is not ruling absolutely. Woo! All right, ladies and gentlemen, slay. All right, Gen Z is in the house telling me to slay. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, as far as that goes, that is available if you just go on YouTube, Tom Richey WAP parody, or you can go to my SoundCloud. Okay, so with that, I tell you what, we got some folks here, and Henry of Navarre. All right, please, so as far as that goes, let's go ahead and get this going. Now, is she trying, Priyanka, you trying to rain on my parade here? Didn't want to hear me rap. So as far as that goes, Priyanka's gonna make 5 though. I can just see it. All right. So as far as that goes, when we think about the reasons for the failure of absolutism in England in the 17th century, okay? So this is a great way to think about contextualization. So if we think about that England was actually with the Stuarts, that was one of the first countries to where a monarch tried to institute absolute authority. So James the First of England / the 6th of Scotland, when Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, died, then the throne passed to the Stuart dynasty. Now, Saturday morning, bright and early, it's going to be at like 5:20 Eastern time, King Charles III is going to be coronated in England. And what's interesting is they're actually going to bring the Stone of Scone, which is basically, where they would coronate the monarchs of Scotland. Okay, so when you look at the coronation of King Charles, the first, the third rather, that King Charles III on Saturday. Now that's going to be the first correlation of a British monarch in my lifetime. There are people who are 66 years old and have never seen, people that are retirement age that have never seen the proper coronation of a British monarch. So I'm probably not going to wake up at 5 in the morning, but as far as that goes, that's going to happen on Saturday after your exams are over. So going from there, what we want to consider here is that James I believed in the divine right of kings. And the divine right of kings, this is a doctrine that places, this idea of that God has chosen, now it's not rooted in Calvinism, but you can kind of hear some Calvinism here, right? That God has chosen the king to rule over the people, that he has ordained this, that God would not have allowed this person to rule if God didn't have some kind of plan, right? And so the people, under the divine right of kings, they have an obligation to obey the monarch in everything. Now, what made England a bad place to try absolutism is, of course, you have this experience with the British Parliament. And the Parliament has been, has existed in some form or another going all the way back to, like, the Middle Ages, like the Magna Carta, which was signed in 1215. And this gave the English, the English barons, the church, later was kind of, basically the representatives of nobility, the church, property owners. They were able to get together and they could consent to taxation. So this idea, and this, of course, is something that goes to the American Revolution. Most of you have either taken APUSH already, or you took it, or you're going to take it next year. And so with that, let me go ahead and just take a little poll here too. Let me do a quick little poll. Have you taken APUSH, or do you plan to take it next year? Okay, so let me just kind of note here, see how many of y'all are going to follow me into APUSH. Already took it. Okay, so already took it, and then taking it next year. All right, and no thanks. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and make a poll here in the Crowdcast. So just to kind of see where things are going there. So the thing is that the English have this tradition of Parliament being called anytime there's going to be any kind of tax or something like that. But James the First, of England, the Sixth of Scotland, he is of the mindset, I can rule absolutely. But again, he's no Louis the 14th, and he is not in France. And so as far as that goes, let's go ahead and just look at a few things here. Now, when you look at, for example, this idea of religious uniformity, okay? So everyone in England must belong to the Church of England. Now, the Church of England is kind of a difficult sort of phase of the categorization of the Reformation, because you've got the Reformation on the continent, you've got Luther, you've got Calvin, you've got Zwingli, you've got the Anabaptists, and they all want, some pretty big reforms. But then when you look at England, this was really about Henry VIII having a political dispute with the Catholic Church. So during the reign of Henry VIII, it was basically, the English Reformation was kind of more of a secession than anything else. And so under Edward VI, Henry's son, the Church of England started going in a more Protestant direction. Now, of course, Edward was sickly and he died early. And so that's where you go to Bloody Mary, okay, who was a Catholic and tried to bring England back to Catholicism. Now, then she died after only about a 5-year reign. And then Elizabeth I reigned for a long time. All right. Elizabeth's in England, they reigned for a long time. So Elizabeth I, what she tried to do is put together the Elizabethan religious settlement, which essentially said that, okay, that we're going to put the Church of England somewhere in between Catholicism and Protestantism, okay? And we're going to try to compromise here and build this kind of compromise position that a church that is nominally Protestant, but still maintains some Catholic, traditions, and, kind of keeps the general vibe of the Catholic service, but isn't Catholic. And so the Elizabethan religious settlement, it was an attempt to say, let's create a compromised church, but everybody's going to have to go to it. So her successor, James I, he insisted on religious uniformity and said that everyone in England must belong to the Church of England. And furthermore, James and his son, Charles I, they both believed in like what they call high church Anglicanism. And this is a form of Anglicanism that is, that is very, very Catholic in its look and feel in the service. Now, another thing we'll note here is King James, he was the guy that oversaw the King James Bible. And note here, when we talk about the King James Bible, that's kind of an old-fashioned translation of the Bible into Elizabethan English. But the King James Bible was an attempt to have a so-called authorized version of the Bible, that there is a single translation of the Bible into vernacular English, and everyone must read the King's Bible. So this is the authorized version. Oh, I love those old Snickers Feast commercials, but no, I'm not trying to watch that. Okay, so as far as that goes, this is something we think about the English Calvinists. So the English church, the Church of England, is a Protestant church in air quotes, right? And so you've got these English Calvinists, these Puritans, these separatists, who all see the Church of England as being too Catholic, okay? And so those people are very, very, when we think about what's going on under Charles I, okay? So now remember, when you're thinking about the Stuarts, J1, C1, C2, J2, okay? James I, Charles I, Charles II, James II. They've got Cromwell in the middle, and I think we've got Oliver Cromwell in the chat tonight. But Cromwell is there in the what we call the interregnum, the time between kings, where basically, the Roundheads, they create, somewhere without a king at all, okay? And so one of the things that comes to a head is when Charles I, okay, Charles I is basically bringing in more absolutism, and there is a controversy over ship money. Now, I've got to be very, very careful about this, okay? Ship money. It's one of those things, I can't mispronounce it. I could get in trouble. So ship money. What happened was basically it was this tax that was levied on the coastal towns and cities to support the merchant marine, like basically these ships that would accompany merchant ships, make sure they didn't get raided. And Charles said, well, you know what? I'm not instituting a new tax. So therefore, when I say that I'm going to collect ship money from all over England, I'm not doing a new tax. I'm just collecting it differently. So I don't need to ask Parliament. And Parliament is used to being summoned anytime there's a tax. And so they say, well, no, I mean, you've got to call us. And so this basically leads to the English Civil War. The two causes being, chiefly the religious controversy, because you've got these Calvinist Puritans who say that, we don't like the Church of England as it is. We think that it should be more like a proper Calvinist Protestantism. Then you've got people who say that Charles is trying to rule absolutely without, just disregarding our traditional English liberties and the role of Parliament. So that results in the English Civil War. And then, of course, you've got the Restoration with Charles II and James II. And then James II decided he's going to be a Catholic, or as the English called it at the time, a papist, a follower of the Pope. And that's where basically after the Glorious Revolution, which John Locke heavily influenced, England goes in a direction that is going to be more on the basis of constitutionalism. And that's where, when you look at King Charles III, who's going to be coronated on Saturday from the looks of it, that King Charles III, he, even when he ascended the throne, he said he's no longer going to do any of his charity work. He was involved in a bunch of charities. Well, some people said, well, some of these charities have a political flair to them. And so Charles said, well, so that I won't be accused of being involved in any kind of political cause, I will give up this charity work. So today, when you look at the British monarchy, it's about, avoiding any kind of political involvement. And of course, that's been kind of part of the controversy of the whole Harry and Meghan thing, is that they like to comment on politics and stuff, and that's not something that the British royals do. All right. So as far as that goes, let's see here. So constitutionalism. Okay, so when we think about constitutionalism, what we want to think about here, Aiden, is constitutionalism is the limitation of government by law. Okay, that's basically when you have some sort of constitution. All right, somebody in the YouTube chat saying my tea has been poisoned. All right, so with this, that constitutionalism is when you limit government by law, and that's where you put restrictions. So Louis XIV, I am the state, right? I am the state. One king, one law, one faith. Absolutism says that sovereignty is placed in the monarch. Constitutionalism says that sovereignty is placed in a combination of a legislative body and a set of laws and understandings. Okay, so with England, you know, with the Glorious Revolution in England, what you're looking at here is that constitutionalism. It's like, look, we have a way of doing things, and the monarch is going to have to work within this constitutional system. Now, if we look at the Netherlands, constitutionalism actually evolves because the Netherlands, they start, you know, there's 7 provinces. Now, it's kind of interesting because today Dutch people call their country Nederland, okay, which is singular. But in English, we call it the Netherlands, okay, which is because there is a history of the Netherlands being, you know, very fragmented. You know, all of these, you know, you've got Gelderland and Overijssel and Drenthe and Holland and Zeeland, Utrecht, you know, all of these different places that basically come together in a sort of confederation. So the thing is that what we see with both absolutism and constitutionalism is we do see the creation of a state, the creation of a way of doing things, but it revolves more around a representative body than it does around the monarch. And so if we think forward to the French Revolution, that's where, you know, when the third estate delegates leave the Estates General and they say that we are convening the National Assembly, and this National Assembly is going to be a legislature for France, and they swear the tennis court oath, and they say that we will not adjourn until we have written a constitution for France. And then, of course, they put out the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen that says this is what people's rights are. Just one second here. So the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen, you know, sets up this constitutional government. Okay, so understand that that's the effect of constitutionalist, is that this idea that government is based on a social contract that can be altered. Now, I've got a lecture on Hobbes versus Locke, which is pretty popular. And in this lecture, I note how Hobbes believes in a social contract that he says, the people can't alter it. Once the social contract's been created, you can't alter it. Well, Locke says that the people can alter their social contract. And in fact, the people have a right to go back to the state of nature anytime and create that social contract again from scratch. So with this idea that government exists, not because the monarch is sovereign, but because the government exists to protect the rights, the liberties, the properties of the people. And if we look at Europe today, you know, European democracies look at government much more in this way. All right. So as far as that goes, a lot of upvotes on this. I haven't taken AP Euro. What is some advice for the test? Okay. Take the test, show up. Okay, make sure in the morning, you know, just make sure, just have a bedtime, and that time needs to be where you just put away the screens and you just stop. Getting a good night's sleep, very important. Okay, now also one thing I often tell people, before you open up your test book, let's say I am the world's greatest expert in European history. Move over, Tom Richey, like move over, teacher. I am the world's greatest expert in European history. And that's something that will give you more confidence when you take your test. Okay. I think that that's going to be important there when you're thinking about taking your test. Okay. So going from there, now remember, ladies and gentlemen, that Romulus Euro is available in the App Store. Okay, just a little $2.99 trivia app, Romulus Euro, and it's got hundreds of trivia questions. And again, they're not stimulus based. They're not supposed to be, just going over the basics and making sure you know what you need to know for that exam. All right. So as far as that goes, though, yeah, Romulus Euro, that's some advice, POV me, right? So policy, oh yes, yes, Peter the Great, Russian Tsar might have heard of me, warm water port. Yeah, that's what I want to see. European tour going west, want to come with me. I'd rather die than have it overrunning me. Shave that beard, show me them lips. Better grab a hammer because I'm building ships. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, Peter the Great, okay, probably my favorite historical figure in modern European history. So Peter the Great, westernization and warm water ports. Okay, this is a question of W's. Okay, which you think about Peter the Great, you know, his reign was full of dubs, right? And these dubs are, you know, when we think about this, is, you know, warm water ports and also westernization. Okay, let's see what I've got here. Yeah, so Peter the Great. So understand that when Peter the Great became the Tsar of Russia, Russia only had a warm water, you know, actually had a cold water port. I've actually got something on my SoundCloud. Anybody heard me rap by the Warm It Up Pete? You know, that's on my SoundCloud. I love that one. That was kind of a cover of a 90s rap called Warm It Up Chris. And so it's like, warm it up, Pete. I'm about to warm it up, Pete. Westernizing Russia too. Anyway, just go to my SoundCloud, check it out. I had fun with that a few summers back. So again, westernization. Peter, which Russia has always had something of an identity crisis, and you even look today where, you know, Russia on the world stage, you know, seems to be gravitating closer to China. Like when we look at the UN Security Council, you got on one hand France, Britain, and the US, and on the other hand, Russia and China. But Peter the Great is saying that Russia, in order for Russia to have a future, it's got to be westernized. It has got to become more of a, you know, more along the lines of a Western European country. And so with that, because remember, Russia is at once a European and an Asiatic country. So orient Russia toward Europe, okay, not toward the Orient. I don't know if I did that as a play on words or not. So then warm water ports, okay. So when Peter became Tsar of Russia, Russia's only port was Archangel, which is in the Arctic, and it's frozen for half the year. So it's no good for, you know, year-round trade, year-round warfare. So Peter had this port here, but he says Russia needs warm water ports. So he's got his eye on the Baltic Sea and he's got his eye on the Black Sea. Okay. And of course, when you look here, this is actually, this is way, I mean, this is really interesting how these things stay current and they kind of, history goes in these cycles, because when you look here, there's Crimea. There is a part of what's actually Russia today. And then this is, for the most part, this is the land that Russia is occupying right now in Ukraine. So this place here that's on the Sea of Azov, what Vladimir Putin would like today is for Russia to completely control the Sea of Azov. And if you look at a map today of where Russia occupies in Ukraine, so there is, you know, Russian occupied Crimea, and then you've got this area here, and also a lot of ethnic Russians in these areas as well. But Peter the Great had his eye on some of the same places that Vladimir Putin is trying to claim for Russia today. So we, you know, part of studying European history is being able to have a better understanding of current events. So Peter, you know, in westernizing, he reoriented his military. toward the Prussian model, okay? And so he went to a few wars there. Peter went on his European tour to Amsterdam and to England. Now, why Amsterdam and England? These are two places that are most known for their maritime ventures, okay? And so, when he goes to Amsterdam, it's not what you think. He's actually going there to study shipbuilding. And also, Russia didn't even have a national flag, so when you look at the Dutch flag and you look at the Russian flag, it's just kind of like, okay, let's just take that red one, put it down here, move it up. There is actually, if you ever go to the Netherlands, there is this, and I've actually got a video on this when I toured this place, that Peter the Great, for a little bit, he lived in just this 2-room cabin with this guy that, he had met before, and they moved the guy's mother out so that Peter could stay with him. And Peter stayed in this cabin for about a week. And today that cabin is a museum. Like, they've got a building built around it and everything, because the Dutch royal family is related to the Romanovs, the old Russian royal family. And so with that, Peter also went into a sort of cultural revolution. So you see here where the young Peter the Great is wearing like an Eastern kind of caftan, okay? Like, this is how Russians were dressing. And Peter says, no, I'm going to suit up. I'm going to wear some Western European fashions. Now, another thing that Peter says, look, these long beards that the Russians are wearing, can't do that. We need to, you notice where Peter, he's just got his mustache and he's got a clean shaven face. So he tried to discourage wearing a beard with a beard tax. And there are Peter's people gonna, get those beards and all of that kind of stuff. Now, of course, there was the Streltsy rebellion. He had resistance from the Streltsy, from the Orthodox Church, and from the boyars. Okay, the boyars were the old Russian nobility. Okay, and so Peter was not a big fan of the boyars. So then, the Russian Orthodox Church, Peter actually, made some church reforms. Now, Peter was, a devout Orthodox Christian. He built churches. His city that he founded, he didn't call it just Petersburg, but Saint Petersburg. Okay, so Saint Petersburg. So as far as that goes, and Borg is actually, that comes from more of a German, kind of a Western way to refer to a city. So, instead of, later they kind of informally call it Petrograd, which is the Russian, but St. Petersburg is more of a German kind of way to refer to a city. So, you think about like Pittsburgh and other places like that. So, so with that, the Russian Orthodox Church had been led by a patriarch. And they didn't like, when Peter brought tobacco into Russia. So Peter decides that instead of having a patriarch, there's going to be a synod of bishops, actually going to be a committee of bishops, okay, a council. So there will be no figurehead. And it wasn't until 1917, on the eve of the Russian Revolution, I'm going to presume during the time of the provisional government, that the patriarchate was reinstated. So that's something there. Now, again, Peter is also, trying to create a service nobility. Now, this is something that is always, a thing with the absolutists, is how do we make the nobility less independent and put them more into the service? Now, for Louis XIV, that was very literal, where the nobles would be trying to, turn the pages when Louis did his Bible reading at night. Like the nobles would fight for the privilege of turning the king's pages, or holding his candlestick while he read, or getting his, little step stool when the king's ready to get out of bed. It was really quite pitiful, really. But as far as that goes, in order to create a service nobility, Peter created the table of ranks. Okay, so that created 14 ranks of Russian service in the civilian and military service, and everybody starts at the bottom. So Peter is trying to create something of a meritocracy. Now, the Great Northern War, this is where Peter is going to, again, he's trying to fight for warm water ports. And we see here Charles XII of Sweden, somebody who was known as a pretty great warrior. And then so you've got the Battle of Narva, where the Swedes basically, they've got the snow at their backs, and Peter has the Swedes outnumbered quite a bit, okay, quite a bit. But at the same time, Peter is defeated. And then we look at the Battle of Poltava, and Peter wins, okay? And that is, of course, where Peter is going to, just like Alexander the Great named all these cities Alexandria. You got Alexandria, Egypt, and Alexandria, this place, and all of that kind of stuff. So St. Petersburg, again, technically after his patron saint, but, we know who this is really named after kind of thing. But again, Peter has this kind of like, I mean, when Americans can go to Russia again, I want to go and see Peter the Great's cabin that he lived in, while he was constructing St. Petersburg. And that's one thing that I find so fascinating about Peter the Great is the simplicity with which he just lived in this small cabin, and he participated in the building. Like, this is a monument to Peter the carpenter, okay? Like, Peter is actually there building ships. Like, Peter wanted to get his hands dirty. It's actually said too that after the Streltsy rebellion that Peter actually performed some of the executions personally. And so then there's the Bronze Horseman. So again, I am just looking forward to one day Americans being able to travel to Russia, and I can see all this Peter the Great stuff. So with that, let me go. I mean, y'all got me talking about Peter the Great, right? So going from there, I would say that the 30 Years' War and the religious wars, I would say that what we want to do there with the 30 Years' War and religious wars, go ahead and watch the videos that I've got. Now, also, let me just put your attention again to marcolearning.com/AP Euro. Okay, this is actually a page that this is a page that is on the internet. And if you go to marcolearning.com/AP Euro, there are 10 topical study guides that I personally wrote, most of them in the earlier periods, which is good for review because usually it's been a while since you have seen this stuff. So what I've got here is I've got the Wars of Religion, 2.4, the Wars of Religion. And this handout basically goes over the French Wars of Religion, the 30 Years' War. Remember, we want to note here defenestration. Actually, I saw the word defenestration in a news article, which Fox News, fired their #1 host, Tucker Carlson, and they mentioned in a news article, I was reading about it, and it said something about Fox News defenestrating Tucker Carlson, like, not literally throwing him out the window, but this can be a symbolic thing as well. So you could symbolically on Friday defenestrate this exam. So the 30 Years' War began with the defenestration of Prague, which threw some folks out the window. Gustavus Adolphus, somebody was saying earlier, I think that they like Henry IV of France. So there he is depicted as Hercules, Hercules. All right, so as far as that goes, the 30 Years' War, Gustavus Adolphus of Sweden, and then the Peace of Westphalia. Now, I've got a video lecture on the 30 Years' War as well. So this is something that I think that it would be helpful for y'all to take a look at. Again, that's at marcolearning.com/AP Euro, and there's actually an 11th one. I just need to proofread it one more time. I'm working on a guide on the Russian Revolution. Okay, so that is happening as well. So just remember, you want to make sure, all of that kind of stuff. So what are some similarities and differences between Louis XIV and Peter the Great? Okay, both of them went to war. Okay, but like one thing we want to note about absolutists is they have standing armies. Okay, this is something that, the king wants to have a big wartime standing army. Louis XIV, the standing army of France in wartime at the time of Louis XIV, it was huge. Okay. I mean, it was 400,000. Louis the 14th had a 400,000. Okay. So thank you, Jade. I'm so glad that you, Jade on YouTube is, really enjoyed the 30 years war video. Excellent. Excellent. So glad to hear that. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, that marcolearning.com/AP Euro. And so we also want to note here, Romulus Euro at the App Store. Okay, at the App Store. Now, whoever did the super chat on YouTube earlier, I wasn't able to catch that, but it looks like we've got a $1.99 super chat. So as far as that goes, I sure appreciate that. Whoever left that, thank you, and you're awesome, and all of that kind of stuff. So remember, Romulus Euro is available at the App Store if any of y'all want to get a hold of that. So Louis the 14th and Peter the Great, they both went to war. They both, had a service nobility. That was something that was a big, that was a big deal to them. Okay. They both now, of course, Louis is basically setting the cultural standards as far as France being the model for culture. Peter the Great is imitating Louis the 14th. Now, also, both Louis the 14th and Peter the Great, they assumed their kingships. They were very young. And they both faced rebellions and attempts to keep them from ever truly taking the throne. So that's another thing that we would look into as well. So going into the next thing here, absolutism and totalitarianism. Now, one thing, one of the things that's typically brought out is absolutism is more about building a public state. It's not. Absolutism does not have the mind control, this attempt. Like there are no like Peter the Great youths or Louis the 14th youths. Like it's not a matter of as much trying to control the way that people think as in their private life, as much as creating institutions of the state. Okay, so totalitarianism, on the other hand, is much more concerned with what people are doing in their private life as well. And also another thing, absolutism is often friendly toward religion and religious groups. Even though Peter wanted to curb the official political power of the church, he was largely supportive of religion. Whereas when we look at totalitarianism, in some cases, there's kind of, Hitler and Mussolini both signed concordance with the Catholic Church, kind of similar to Napoleon. But I would not say that either Hitler or Mussolini was religious, or a big supporter of religion or anything like that. So as far as that goes, are names important on the test? Okay. Now, names are always important on any history test. Like the idea that you could do well on a test without learning names, that's not going to be the case. Okay. So now a few names I can think of. Let's go ahead and note in the Renaissance, Petrarch, Machiavelli, Pico della Mirandola. When we think about enlightened absolutism, okay? So I've got Violet, I've got a video lecture on enlightened absolutism. And so as far as that goes, that, your most successful enlightened absolutist is going to be Frederick the Great, okay? Frederick the Great of Prussia. Now, absolutists, they of course have, the enlightened absolutists of course have absolute power. They want to rule absolutely, but at the same time, they also want to rule with some sort of enlightened principle. So, you have the toleration of religious minorities, right? So the toleration of religious minorities, you've got reform of institutions, you've got absolutism, and patronage of the philosophes. Now that's an acronym that spells trap. So think about it, the enlightened absolutists are in the trap, okay? They are promoting toleration of religious minorities, reform of state institutions, absolutism, and also patronage of the philosophes. Now, one thing I need to note here, there's this book that I think would be great for us. Let me see if I can find it without any big trouble. Just one second. Going to go over to my shelf here, see if I'm able to find the Potato King. And maybe I'm not able to. Maybe I need to make sure that I find that later. Yeah, it's not becoming immediately apparent to me, but there is this book that I have somewhere. And the problem with being a Euro teacher is I have a lot of books. Okay. So the thing is that there's this book about Frederick the Great. It's like a children's book called The Potato King. So they literally called Frederick the Great the Potato King. Because here's the thing with the Enlightenment, now, German food like potatoes are like very, very important in German cuisine, just as they are in French and Belgian and Dutch cuisine, fish and chips in England. But at the time of Frederick the Great, like the German peasants had not really embraced the potato because when you think about it, the potato, it's ugly. And if the potato's not cooked, we make French fries and we're like, oh, I love potatoes. I love mashed potatoes. I love French fries, all of that kind of stuff. But if you just look at a potato, I mean, it just looks disgusting. And so Frederick the Great, though, he's looking at the science of it. He's saying, look, potatoes are a high calorie food. They are easy to grow. That's why the Irish got so dependent on potatoes because it was a high calorie food and easy to grow. And so Frederick the Great is like, look, scientifically, this is good because this is going to provide nutrition to my people. And so Frederick the Great was such a big promoter of the potato that they called him the Potato King, like Frederick the Great, the Potato King. And so that's something to kind of think about there, that he is promoting science. But also Frederick the Great was a very, ruthless military commander. I would say that Frederick the Great it's not like Frederick the Great's generals or something like that. I mean, Frederick the Great was in his own right a very accomplished military commander. So when we think about Enlightened Absolutists, remember that, we do have absolutism. We do have their preoccupation with warfare and all of that. So that's something that is important here. So as far as that stuff, the Anglo-Dutch kind of, now one thing that we'll note about the Glorious Revolution. So I think one thing that would be a good thing for us to note here is the Glorious Revolution is what we see here is that you have William III of Orange, who married William III of Orange and Mary Stuart. They were first cousins. And I know this sounds kind of disgusting, but these are European monarchs at that time. So let's just go ahead and just take a little look at this family tree here, because the Glorious Revolution is something that it alters the balance of power, okay, in Europe, because the Dutch, Louis XIV, like during the time of the Stuarts, like Charles II and James II, they had, they were related to Louis. They were sympathetic toward Catholicism. And so then Parliament, they invite William III, the Prince of Orange, who was the stadtholder of Holland, Zeeland, Utrecht, Gelderland, and Overijssel. Okay, so William III, the Prince of Orange, and he and his wife, Mary Stuart, again, they were both grandchildren of Charles I of England. So they got married as first cousins. Don't try this at home, kids. Okay. So the first cousins get married here. And, basically, as far as that goes, then, William of Orange invades England. Parliament is, totally cool with it. And that creates, basically, we're going to see here an Anglo-Dutch alliance against Louis XIV. So in addition to the Glorious Revolution being something that made an impact on the future of English constitutionalism, it also has an influence on the balance of power. Okay, so that's something that is important there. And so with that, let's see, somebody's doing a DBQ. I think Paul's over there doing a DBQ. Now, here's the thing, Paul, if you're writing that DBQ, whether it's about the English Civil War or the 30 Years' War, you have to make a historical judgment. Okay. And I've actually got a video about this, I believe it's on YouTube: facts, opinions, and historical judgments. So whether the English Civil War was primarily political or religious, I can't tell you that. Okay. Because what I tell you about that, that's going to be based on my historical judgment. And so part of being acting as a historian is having a willingness to engage in historical judgments, like to say that I am making a historical judgment here. So that's something that you can consider there, that you have to make that decision. You have to think about the evidence. What is the evidence that it's political? What is the evidence that it is religious? Okay. So as far as that goes, that's something that we would note there. Oliver Cromwell's economic impact. Now that's going to be very, very specific. I don't think that really it is going to be something you would need to know for the exam. So that's part of why you're here too, is when I say I wouldn't be barking up that tree really. So that's just something that I would note there. Oh, the War of the Spanish Succession. Molly, I would recommend my video on that. I've got a 3-part lecture on Louis XIV's wars. And so as far as that goes, there you go. And so with that, let's see, Tom Richey, Cosmic PCS, Tribe. That's some Alabama stuff. Roll Tide. All right. So with that, Sweet Home Alabama. All right. So the War of the Spanish Succession, it's one of my favorite videos that I've ever made. Okay. So I would note there. Now, what I would say, Warren, is probably the opposite. You said, did absolutism have an effect on the 30 Years' War? I would say it would be more on the other side, because one of the consequences of the 30 Years' War and the Treaty of Westphalia is that what we're going to see is that as far as that goes, did absolute, like what we see is France is going to be established as the preeminent, the preeminent power in Europe. So that's something that I think is going to be, a thing that we'll note there, that the 30 Years' War has an effect on absolutism. So that's what we would note. What we would note there. It's saying that a student wants to come on stage. That would actually be kind of a fun thing here. If we think about that, but I don't know who wants to come on stage, so I'm not sure who to note there. So as far as that goes, okay, Sophia, what I want to note here tonight is that you consistently get all the points on the DBQ and the LEQ except for complexity. Sophia, let me see what we can do here. Okay, so am I able to invite her onto the stage? Okay. Yeah, let's see. Okay, so Sophia, I'm going to invite you to the main stage, and let's see if she's going to take me up on that. Now, as far as that goes, you don't need, if you want to come in audio only, you don't have to have your camera on, but it will allow us to have just a little conversation about this, okay? Because I just want to think in terms of, get on terms of this. And so we'll see here if she takes me up on the invitation. But what I would say here is that for everybody that gets the complex understanding point, there are 2 people that get a 5. Okay. So as far as that goes, that's something that you want to consider there, that if you consistently get 6 out of 7 on the DBQ and 5 out of 6 on the LEQ, you are getting, let's see. Oh, do we have somebody on stage?
Hi.
Oh, hey, Sophia. Hey, Sophia, how you doing over there?
I'm good. How about you?
Okay, I'm super. Thanks for asking. All right. So, Sophia, it sounds like you've probably also taken a practice exam. Have you taken a practice exam?
Yeah.
How many did you get out of 55?
I actually got about, so during the first time, during the beginning of the year, I started doing these practice questions. I got about half right, and again, this is my first AP class that I'm taking, so, but now I haven't been taking 55 at the same time, but my AP classroom has those sectional.
Oh,
type
the AP class, or don't do that. Ask your teacher. Are you taking a class?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell your teacher that you want your teachers actually have probably 3 old exams in hand. Okay. Like if you ask your teacher, hey, I really want to take a practice test. Those questions on AP Classroom, those are not the same quality of questions you get on the test. A lot of those, I've noticed a lot of the stimulus-based items on AP Classroom are kind of reading comprehension items, and they haven't been really checked very well. So my advice would be to go and just chat with your, with your teacher and just ask, can you print me out? Do you have any of those old tests? Because they're available to all teachers who have passed the course audit. And then that way, if you can take like the 2015, the 2017, one of those tests that was actually put out by the College Board, or there's also a publicly available practice exam on, if you go to AP Euro practice exam, the College Board has one there. So the thing is that the problem with the complex understanding point is that it's elusive because there's no single thing that you can do to get to where the reader owes you that point. Okay, so let me just take a little look here. Let's see, complex understanding. Okay, let me just run, actually don't have, but the main thing that people do is have a counter argument. So for example, like if was the 30 Years' War or the English Civil War, was it chiefly about religion, or is it chiefly about political concerns? So you go in and you say, it was chiefly about religion because I've got, these 2 points that are backed up by evidence to show that it was primarily about religion. Then I have this other kind of counter argument. So I say, well, I've been arguing my main argument that it was primarily about religion, but I'm also acknowledging that there was a political element to it, you see, and I'm using some things there. So that's one of the ways that you can get that point. But the problem with complex understanding is just because you put a counter argument there does not mean you'll necessarily get it. And what I think is a great strategy, exceed the points. Make sure your contextualization is thorough. Use a couple of pieces of outside evidence. Do HIP analysis on like 4 or 5 documents, so the main thing is like the way that you get complex understanding is you are in the top 5% of essays that are read, basically, that you are given essay top 5%. But here's the thing as well, that if you're consistently getting a 6 out of 7, a 5 out of 6, that your trajectory is a 5. Okay, like for example, in my classroom, Sophia, I don't make like 6 out of 7 on the DBQ in the 4th 9 weeks is 100. 5 out of 6 on the LEQ in the 4th 9 weeks is 100. What is my rationale for that? It is that I'm not going to make somebody do something for a grade that they don't need to make a 5. And so with that, my best advice to you is write the best essay you can. I mean, just all of that, don't be one of those students that's like puts down their pencil with 30 minutes left. Like go all in and make sure you're giving it your all. And just note too that there, again, for every person that scores the complex understanding point, 2 people make a 5. Has that been helpful?
Yes, it's so much helpful. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Well, Sophia, say hello to your classmates and remind them to pick up that Romulus A-Push review.
Alrighty, thank you.
All right. I mean, not A-Push review, but the Euro. Yeah, get the A-Push one next year. All right. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know how to kick you out of here. Oh, there we go. All right, I found it. Okay, so that was awesome. We got to do a little bit. We got to do a little bit more of that, don't we? You know what? That would be pretty awesome. How do I get better at stimulus-based multiple choice? Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I need to let's see. Let me make sure I'm giving you this, because over the weekend I did a spring symposium for AP Euro. And this was like a, you know, a $40 thing to get in advance. I gave students like a $10 off that were coming to my things here. But as far as that goes, since it's already happened, let me go ahead and get in here and I will give you a promo code. Okay. So the price for the Spring Symposium, what the Spring Symposium was, it was 4 sessions. It was multiple choice, SAQ, LEQ, and DBQ. Okay. So I did 4 sessions in the Spring Symposium, and, you know, each one, and the DBQ session is about 2 hours long. Like I go into detail, like I get into everything there. And yeah, it was a big dub there, I think. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and put a link to the Spring Symposium. Okay. And I'm going to also put a coupon code. You should be able to use the coupon code. So AP Euro Spring Symposium. Okay. And there is the link. And then I'm going to note here that you can use the coupon code Classroom10 to change it from $40 to $10. Okay. So, and you go to crowdcast.io/@TomRichey. So that you can say Classroom 10. Okay. That is Classroom 10. And that's something that, because it already happened, and some of y'all, I mean, but really, this is like, it's like more than, it's 6 hours of it's basically 6 hours of me going into every nook and cranny, every detail of this exam. Okay. So as far as that goes, Jeffrey Land on YouTube, could I go over the main accomplishments for the Fredericks of Prussia? Okay. As far as that goes, I've actually got this, let's see, Soldier King. Let's see, let me just run over here and see where we because there was this song that I did a cover for that I don't know where are the lyrics there, but yeah, so I don't know where that, but I've got it somewhere. But anyway, the Fredericks of Prussia, they are better at war. The Prussian military is the most like developed. Prussia was a small country, and they created the 4th largest military. They called them the Sparta of the North. So Prussia basically did organizing armies better than anyone else. Frederick the Great, though, is the most important, though. So when we said that, religious toleration of Frederick the Great, his patronage of the philosophes such as Voltaire, these are very important. So, AP Euro Spring Symposium. Okay. That is something, let's see, the Spring Symposium. And again, there is the link to that Spring Symposium. And if you use the coupon code Classroom 10, it'll go from $40 to $10. Okay. And again, that is 6 hours of me like just going into every nook and cranny of the exam. And if it's also got links in there to where it links to a YouTube archive, where it says, okay, the archive stream here, and you can share that link with your friends, with your classmates. I don't care. I want people to see this thing. Okay. So as far as that goes, we're going into all of that. So going from there, wow. So somebody's rocking the Discord over there. What are they inviting us to? A based server. Okay, that's a basic Soviet. Is that a communist? Oh my goodness, this Discord is a communist plot. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, let's see. Somebody asked for a shout out. I don't want to miss that. Adriana, shout out. Actually, I'm about to stop this thing. So y'all let me know. Y'all go ahead. I'm going to do some Instagram shout outs. Okay. At Tom Richey on Instagram. We will close out with some Instagram shout outs. Okay. So let's go ahead and, and do that. Okay. So some Instagram shout outs. So as far as that, some Instagram shout outs. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get that, and get that going there. Okay. So with that, Let me go ahead and see who my newest Instagram followers are. Let's see what we've got here. We've got V7 period Nessa. Okay, V7 period Nessa. Shout out. Okay, and Richard says that's a perfect explanation, Penelope. Let's see who else. We've got Malonica Budol. Bree period Demaro. Kylie the spam. We've got Joe Willis 18. Sarisha BTW. Okay. And so as far as that goes, all right, excellent. So then we've got Emily Maiku, we've got Caitlin, we've got Ben Ochoa, we've got Ava Ava Matusiak has joined the chat. All right, so as far as that, Ava is here, and we've got Trader Zoes. Okay, Trader Zoes. She's got like this thing with a bunch of S's. All right, oh wow, we've got Ashwath.S49. We've got one set F1007, Alexis Stamatel, Kyle McClory, Michael Herbert Collier, and Jose Martinez 079, Mads.Wick, Ashwath. Okay, I think we've got some of the same folks here. Might have followed me 2 times. Wow. So as far as that goes, we've got that there. So excellent. Thank y'all so much for your support tonight. And again, I'm going to be going live. As far as that goes, I'm going to be going live. Okay, we got a lot of y'all taking A-Push next year. I'm really excited about that. Remember, I provide support for A-Push as well. So I'm going to be really happy to take y'all into that journey next year. So that's going to be awesome. And remember, I'm going to be back tomorrow. The primary topic is going to be the Cold War and contemporary Europe. But if we have some other questions, we'll take those as well. And remember that then we'll go back on Wednesday to World War I and dictatorships. And then the night before Euro, it'll basically be a free-for-all. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great session tonight. Remember that Romulus A-Push Review is available on the App Store, and I'm looking forward to that. So as far as that goes, and it looks like, we've had a couple of y'all buy that spring symposium. So thank y'all for that as well. I hope y'all find that helpful. And remember, when you buy the spring symposium, there's a link that you're welcome to share with your classmates. Just don't post it anywhere in public. That's all I ask. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, looking forward to seeing y'all at 8 p.m. Eastern for the next 3 nights, and we're going to rock it. It's always a pleasure.